Good morning. What is going on, guys? How are we? Welcome to your once a week pump day. If you're inside the academy, you know that that's how we talk about it, right? It is pump day, it's not hump day. We're very understanding of how important language is inside our Better Body Academy. And so I wanted to start today rather, on the right note. It is not hump day, it is pump day. So on that note, if you're watching this one live, let me know you're coming in the comments, and I want to know who indeed is pumping. Who is pumping? Who's getting involved? Who's already been and made their deposits? Look at this, 9 guys already. So good. Guys, this is going to be a really short, sharp podcast, I can tell you that. Okay? Nice, quick, nice and easy, and we're going to rock this. I want to do this podcast while it's fresh in my mind, because there's an analogy here at play that I want to share with you guys, which might help you to potentially understand something that might be plaguing you as a challenge. So you let me know if you're coming in, guys. We're going to start in a minute and a half, and we're good to go. So on that note, just while we're bringing all of our team in, and wow, look at this team. How good is it? We've got M Kelly. So good. Who else we got in here? Chriso, how are you, mate? So good to see you up there and raring at it early. Tez is here. Ames is here. Mikey's here. Bobby's here. Michelle's here. So good. Em's been frog pumping. Tara, good to see you in here, girl. Pam, how are you, mate? I'll tell you what, guys, just as we're letting a few more people come in, I'm going to say good morning, Jules, or evening, rather. I hope you're good, Jules. So check out this. We have got our crew coming in for this podcast. It's going to be so good. So let me just have a quick look at something. So check this out, right? This lineup of people coming in for the mastermind is unreal. Men: Nick Friend, Steve Byron, Trent Barnett, Jim Norval, Dan Peterson, James Skeets, Mick Foster, Matt Harvey, Ben Richardson, Luke Durham, Jeff Cockley, Nath Roller, Jerry Aldevilla, and Jake Fisher. That is going to be a cracking men's mastermind. I just cannot wait, actually. And then in terms of the women, so good. Amy Monks becomes our first UK girl to get involved. We got Jordana, Brooke Witchard, Kristen Faulkner, Erin Waters. We got Jade Clark, has just told me she is hooking in. And so to all of you who haven't heard from me yet, I'll be up you soon. Okay? Guys, let's get started in this episode. I just want to crack straight into it, okay? On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. In today's episode, a very short episode, I just want to talk about a little, I don't know if you call it an epiphany or an analogy that come to me this morning. Okay, and I want to share it with you guys. I think the benefit of using analogies is that they help people, and it doesn't just matter that it's in fitness or health, but what it does is it helps people to understand an idea. Because if we're talking about an idea that is kind of abstract to someone, it's hard for them to get their head around it if they don't have any experience of that idea firsthand. But if we use an analogy to actually discuss it, then it's something that we can go, oh, okay, I relate to that thing, so therefore I understand what he's talking about. Okay? Now, I did a podcast episode yesterday or the day before, of which a lot of you wrote and basically said that was a really good episode. The episode was called, I'm just looking back at what I called it, Kill the Current Version of You. Kill the Current Version of You. And what this episode talked about was how when we are leveling up, what we need to be able to do is sacrifice who we think we are to give birth to where we want to go and what we want to become. And so this is what the mastermind is about. The mastermind is about being able to say, you know what, I want to play on a higher level, and the only way I can do that is by being willing to kill the person that I think that I am currently. Because there is something called the vacuum law, and the vacuum law basically says a vacuum is where you have empty space. In order to create a vacuum for you to grow in, what you need to be able to do is make space. If you hang tightly onto the identity that you currently are and that you've always been, and you just hold tightly to that identity, then you haven't created space to fill the room with a new identity. And to those of you that are like, how many of you like are really bad at collecting clothing? Right? If you're anything like Cordia, like my missus has a house it's so full of clothes, it's not funny. Right? She has so many clothes, and some of these clothes still have tags on them, and she just kind of loves clothes. She loves looking pretty and wearing it. And we've got a bunch of people saying, yes, 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 that's me. Okay, so I don't really care for clothes too much. And so what happens is, what I know is that every time that I do a purge and I get rid of a bunch of clothes out of my cupboard, I create a vacuum to fill it with clothes that I potentially want. And that fills the void. And it's kind of like, I don't buy any clothes until I've chucked the rest of the clothes out. So I've made space in the vacuum. This is actually not the analogy that I want to use. And guys, by the way, this podcast is totally unscripted. I'm just talking off my face here. Okay, so I've been thinking about this idea of how to better explain this need to let go of your old identity. And so what it is my daughter, she's nearly 2, and she goes to daycare like a lot of kids. And I drop her off because she seems to have less attachment to me dropping her off than mum. If mum drops her off, she carries on and she doesn't want to get off. But with me, I can kind of just drop her and let her go. But every time I drop her off, I feel this sense of, I'm going to try to describe it. Like she's 1,500 meters that way. Like she's not very far away. She's 1 kilometer that way, 2 kilometers that way. The people are very, very friendly. It's a very safe day because there's no part of me dropping her off that is putting her at risk, right? And I need to drop her off so that I can work, because if I don't drop her off, I've got a kid running around that just wants to be entertained. The hardest part about parenting, I think, is not just when you have bad kids, it's when you have really good kids that just want fucking entertaining all the time, right? And you can get nothing done. So anyway, I need to drop her off. But every time I take her down and I get closer to the daycare, I can feel her like, oh, dad, and dad, dad. And she's like, she doesn't want to leave my company. And then inevitably I have to take her out to the back of the home daycare and drop her off and give her a cuddle and effectively say, that is you for now, right? And I'll see you this afternoon when mum picks you up. And it's like this little part of me dies a bit. And it's not because anything's bad's going to happen. I just feel like she's my little girl. And I've never felt that in my life before because I've only just become a dad in the last 2 years. And it's like, I almost have this little bit of separation anxiety. And maybe that little bit of separation anxiety, perhaps, maybe she picks up on it and reciprocates what I'm feeling. And I'm able to just like, yeah, and one of our guys says, M says, it's so conflicting, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. So you need to do it. Now, okay, so this podcast is heating up, so you guys are getting it. Christy says, like you're losing part of you. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a necessary thing to do, but it still doesn't feel good. And then as I was dropping her off today, it was kind of peaked. And Bobby said, I have that with my 30-year-olds. Wow. Yeah. And Mark said, when they become teenagers, you want to push them away. Okay. So I'm walking out the front gates today and I had this like epiphany. This is exactly what it's like when someone who has been overweight, in pain, particularly depressed, or any of those profiles, this is how they feel. And you may be exactly in this position. In fact, I was in this position for a long period of time. And to a degree, I think we are all in this position. And Joe says, yeah, I fully understand. So what it is that you know that it's good for you to let go. In fact, you understand that the only way you're actually going to get any work done today is if you let your daughter's hand go. But the letting go creates so much fucking anxiety that you just don't want to let go. And so you hold on and you hold on and you hold on. And it almost like requires you to trust that they'll be okay and you can go about your day and everything will be fine. And then you'll pick them up this afternoon and everything will be fine. And in the same way, you need to trust that if you let go of this old identity that you are holding on to, that is keeping you stuck, it's become comfortable to be that person because it provides, even though you don't necessarily like it, you're holding hands with someone that you need to let go of so that you can go and do your thing. But you can't because you feel judged and you feel the anxiety if you walk away. And I think that this is one of the number one reasons that men and women get stuck. I am not, please understand that I am not degrading mental health as a thing. It's huge. It's a huge thing. However, I think that we could, without like being controversial, I think we could say that when you have been depressed, anxious, overweight, whatever the thing is that you suffer from, for me, it was being locked in a job that I didn't want to do anymore and thinking that that was all I was capable of. When you're locked in an identity, then that identity is not serving you in the way that you want it to, but it is serving a purpose. The purpose that it is actually serving is to keep you safe. Okay? To keep you safe and in your perception, to keep you secure. But just like when you've got to force yourself to drop your daughter's hand at daycare or your son's hand at daycare, just like you've got to do that, you force yourself to do it because you know that it's for the good of you and her. Unless you're willing to drop the hand, you stay attached. I want you to imagine staying attached to your kid all of your life. Like the idea of Ocean, going traveling at 25 years old and like I currently do, live on the other side of the world to my parents, like that is a very large split, both psychologically and physically. It's a split there that exists. But imagine holding on to the hand of your child until they were 5, 10, 15, 20, fucking 25. In Bobby's case, he's saying 30 and it's still hard. You're gripping them so tight because you can't let go. You cannot let go. And that failure to let go is preventing you from moving on. It's preventing you from moving on. And what I think is that when we are in that state where we don't love where we're at, but we're in it, we become attached to it. And once we've lived that way for a long period of time and lived a long period of time like that, it almost that state becomes better the devil we know. Better the devil we know. We know that we need to move away, but if we move away from that state of depressed, overweight, or whatever the thing is, if we move away, what inevitably happens is we walk into a discomfort zone. And in that discomfort zone, we risk failure, we risk judgment. So a good question to ask yourself is, you say that you want to lose weight, you say that you want to be away from your depression, you say that you want to be away from your anxiety, but imagine today you cut the cord, as Joe put it, cut the cord from your anxiety, your weight. Imagine you like totally severed it and you were free to go and do whatever it is in the world that you then could do or wanted to do. Would a part of you still miss that identity? would a part of you still be attached to that identity? I think the answer is yes, because we become addicted, we become attached in the same way that we do to our daughter at daycare. And what we need to be able to do, guys, and I'm going to finish up on this note because I promised it to be short, but what we need to be able to do is understand that whether you're coming into the mastermind or not, if you're coming into the mastermind, you've got the hand of an identity, okay? And that identity has served you to this point. If you're coming into BBA and you're just starting, that's cool. It's served you to this point. You may have said to yourself, my genetics don't serve me well. My family's always been overweight. All of the things that we say to ourselves, I can't do it. This is hard. All those, that's an identity that we're creating over and over again. But that identity, if we are not willing to let it go, it will stay attached to us like a mother staying attached to the daughter until 50 years old and still trying to control her. And it doesn't work. You need to free yourself for your own benefit. And so as I was walking out the doors today, it just kind of hit me that, fuck, this is like the difficulty that I have letting go must be exactly what it's like to feel that anxiousness of letting go of the person that you think you are in order to create a vacuum to create the person and the life experience that you want to have. So I might leave it on that note. Just maybe this is just a point to think about, guys, because in the evolution of us all, in the evolution of you, the evolution of, if I even think back to this podcast 122 episodes ago when I was doing the first podcast, like the identity that I had is I don't fucking know how to do a podcast and I'm scared and I'm nervous. And what if I get judged? And what if someone says to me in the comments, shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about? All these different things that I think could go wrong. If I held on to that as the identity, there would not be a podcast. There would not be the academy. I'd be still back working a job which kept me safe, but didn't help me. It helped me survive, but it didn't help me thrive. And in order to be able to thrive in life, and thriving in life is going to be associated with entering periods of abundance, periods where things seem to come to you somewhat effortlessly. That happens if you're willing to go into the unknown, if you're willing to take a leap of faith, if you're willing to drop the hand of your kid and walk away, and knowing that you can always come back this afternoon. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you there. Have a beautiful pump day. To those of you that are in the US or this side of the world, Canada or the UK, thanks for joining us later in your day. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, and far out weird analogies. I'll see you guys in the next episode.